correctly? Thank you.
Good.
Okay, so modeling using Cinema 4D contains generators plus modifiers and so on. And then we are going to learn a little bit of visualization with the best rendering engine of the world, Corona Render. It's not the most time efficient render engine, but this is the highest quality, the absolute highest quality. That's what I'm using. Although at home I'm using sometimes Octane Render or Redshift Render Engine, but in terms of quality, in my experience, the highest quality engine is Corona Render. Um, um, this, for example, uh, is Octane Render, but this one is Corona made. Yeah, it's a really high quality lightning simulation. I love the materials and the fall off of the lights is just extremely strong, so soft, and the whole look of the Corona render cannot compare to any engine on the market. It's simply another level. So that's all I can say about that. Okay, so I'm working with these conceptual design stuffs, and I'm doing experiments for my PhD and for my own like personal projects and something like that. If you're interested, I don't want to dive in too deep into my work because of course, I will teach the most common techniques used recently in contemporary architecture, and these are mostly involved, like these growth experiments. I always do. I love doing these experiments. Don't be scared. We don't need to animate stuffs. We do uh, we do a basic task. And speaking of that, I would like to introduce you the task of the semester. Okay, so the project, semester project. Let's say let's write like that. Okay, semester project. Central European Fashion Week. Central European Fashion Week Pavilion in City Park. Okay, so this will be the semester project. We will design a good pavilion for this event. You can find Central European Fashion Week here. And but I would like to ask you soon. We will take a look at all this. The students' work has already been uploaded, but first let take a look at what is this even? What's going on here, and what is this? So first of all, you go there. Go to the site. You take a look around, and You see the designers, who they are, what are they doing, and you start to think how you could design a pavilion which can receive this kind of program, this kind of design. You can see the image. Past events. How do they look like? We need to design some kind of a catwalk. Okay. I don't want to talk about that too much because I'm really curious about your own opinion how to do that. I mean, how to imagine an outside pavilion like that. You know, Central European Fashion Week's main location is the Fine Arts Museum, Budapest, which is located nearby the city park, Városliget. I show it in the maps within a minute. So there is the Museum of Fine Arts, okay? There is the Central European Fashion Week. You must go here. It's just wonderful. This is one of the most famous spaces of Hungary. There they organize this event, and your task is to find a good place for an outside pavilion where the Central European Fashion Week show, like for example a show of a designer or show of a group of designer, can hold their event, okay, in a early September evening, right? It can be an open pavilion, it can be a closed pavilion. Which I would like to ask is to think and rethink about the design show concept and process, and put yourself the question, what is the goal of a pavilion like that? Okay? This is the first problem we're facing. So first, you put yourself this question, then you try to find a matching location or a location you like. You go there, you take a look around, and you take a walk. What is here? What can be used? Can you use the location? I mean, can you use something related to the location? Can you relate something nearby, historical stuff or historical event? You know, when we're learning applied studies, we have to understand that there is a spectrum of architecture, a wide spectrum of architecture, which spectrum of, let's say, just spectrum of architecture by function. Okay, so let's say here is a line. This line is the architecture. Okay, and let's say the left side of this line is, I rather draw a continuous line, and let's say this point is the function driven designs. Okay, function designs building, let's say function design buildings. Can someone tell me function driven buildings, like where literally the function is everything? You cannot unrelate the function, and it's the most important thing when you design a building. Can someone tell me an
Healthcare building, hospital.
who said that? Victoria. Yeah, exactly. Function driven buildings like healthcare or hospitals or residential housing, right? The investor's main goal is to pull out as much money as he just can, right? You have met this before, I suppose. It's the most important part. You invest money, it's a business. You invest money, then you expect a huge amount of profit. That is the residential housing. That's the point of the residential housing in the capitalism, right? You build houses, and you well you either rent them or buy them, or just do an Airbnb or something. But the point is to make profit. So that's why function is one of the most important thing in these situations. Or and there are many kinds of buildings are like this. Okay, let's go to the middle of this line now. I don't want to list too much. I just want to give you an overall understanding what I'm talking about. What's in the middle? Let's say if I'm talking about function-driven buildings, healthcare, fully function driven buildings like healthcare, hospitals, residential housing, etc. Maybe what's in the middle of this line, of this spectrum? What can be here? Like, for example, I don't know, municipality buildings or public buildings, some sort of public buildings, like mixed. Let's say this is the conceptual fully concept or fully fully metaphoric analogy and concept driven design, right? And let's say here we have some kind of used mixed. We are here, by the way, the applied arts theory. This is the first segment now. It's important to introduce you the task or the project, or basically I just want to explain you what we would like to achieve in this semester, while of course learning these competences. Okay, these are really important in the business, in the architectural profession. You cannot ditch these. You cannot avoid these. You cannot dodge these. These are just super basic stuffs. Okay, visualization, modeling, and applied arts, and in modeling, I do not refer to CAD modeling. No CAD, rather freeform. I will explain you what's this a little bit later. So, mixed use, like some kind of public buildings or leisure buildings, recreation, etc. Uh-oh. It's not that good. Sorry about that. I was not prepared to do this in Notepad. Maybe I switch to maybe I just switch to ArchiCAD. Okay. And the end of or imaginary spectrum of architectural, let's say architectural thinking, of analogy and concept and maybe metaphor. In the right side there is this conceptual design, which doesn't even have to involve space, any kind of space in it. Can someone give me an example to the ultimate conceptual driven building type, where the function is totally secondary? Doesn't even matter. Yeah?
Religious
Religious buildings. Well, yeah, well, religious buildings are quite good examples. Um, but something else, something even more extreme, was in my mind. Can you tell another one? It's not classic building, rather, let's say, an installation, a huge installation. What's that?
Some kind of a pavilion, something that you can see on Expo or something like that.
Some kind of a,
Pavilion.
some kind of a pavilion. Yeah, pavilion is, I would say pavilion is something like religious architecture. Somewhere there, somewhere around religious architecture maybe. But what I am referring to, or what I'm thinking, is the monuments, for example.
Maybe.
Like statues, huge statues, Second World War monuments, you know, Holocaust monuments, or I don't know, war monuments. Um, Everything which can be related to a legacy or past in every country, in every city, in every even just little villages, there is some kind of uh, non-functional, mainly spiritually driven, or mainly let's say mainly conceptually driven building, right? Even in the smallest space, even in the smallest locations. So that's why I would put the monument here, monuments or statues. You know, you can go into monuments or statues occasionally. Doesn't mean you can. Monuments, statues. Can anyone tell me another one, for example? I don't know. Yeah, so monuments and statues. Let's put it here. And let's say this is a spectrum what I'm talking about. Okay? And put here the religious architecture. You know, because in religious architecture uh, there are some rules. You And there are, I don't know, you have to receive the so people have to sit down. You need benches. You need altars, tables. I know installations, baptisement, installments, and sacraments, place for sacraments. You know, you need a lot. There are some rules, but it's true that you have a huge freedom in forming this kind of type of buildings. So that was a really good one. And let's say if religious architecture is somewhere here, what do you think? Or semester project, where is our semester project in this spectrum? Left or right? So where do I put this?
I suppose rather like near to the religious architecture.
Yes, yeah, yeah, good answer, yeah, of course. And let's put it here, outside pavilion. Central European Fashion Week, Budapest. And let's say 2023. It's just ended, by the way, in September. Okay? So, what does this mean? It means you have a terrible amount of freedom. What I truly care about is how deep concept you can create, and then how on what quality can you turn it into architectural form and architectural design, right? How can you translate it to some kind of a building where you can get into, okay? We have some restrictions, although, like for example, I would like to ask you to give 200 seats, okay, for the viewers. I would like you to give, of course, a backstage, restroom, and depot. Depot, or what do we call that? you know, where we put down the clothes and excuse me?
Storage.
Yeah, a depot and storage, a huge storage. Depot storage. Backstage is not only for classic backstage function, but changing room. Okay. So that's all. I don't ask you more function, okay? What I could write here is the following. Form adapts to the building function, right? Here is form and function tries form and function try to find a balance, some kind of a balance, okay? Of course, many would disagree with that, but no problem, because these are just this is not it's some kind of a huge truth, you know. This is just to help understand what do we expect at the end of the semester. And here, at this end of the spectrum, can someone tell me what should I write here? Come on, you can tell anything. Hanan, tell me something. What should I write here? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat?
Yeah, what should I write here? What do you think? If I have this spectrum, and I would say on the very left side, forms adapt to the building function, like healthcare, hospitals, and residential buildings. And then we mix it like in leisure buildings, recreational buildings, and some sort of public buildings. Then what comes on the far right of the spectrum? Anyone can tell it if you have idea, by the way.
So maybe like conceptual form, but with being like conscious about the function that we have give to the building.
Yeah, yeah. Let's translate it for now. Yeah, good. This is a good answer. Let's translate it for now as function searching its place in the form. Okay? Why? Because form is something we consider as analytic. right? Is an analytical thing. Sorry, yeah, function. Yeah, I wanted to point in function. Function. We consider function as some kind of an analytical, technical thing. But maybe the form and maybe the structure, which creates the fusion between them, maybe we can think the form as the tool of the expression of or concept or analogy or metaphor, call it whatever you want. Call it however you want. I would like to ask you then, is this clear, what I told you? Yeah, great. So that's the point here. This is our task. And I would like to ask you to position it in your minds on our in you visualize yourself a spectrum like that, and then you position it. Please position this pavilion, this outside pavilion, somewhere near here. Okay? And now I stop this clip. Well, it's the longest clip I ever made because it's almost 40 minutes, but no problem.